Today's lesson is lesson number 39 in The Key Still Unlocks the Door. We're talking about the key to revival found in 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. So today we're looking at the next word in the definition for the face as the part that turns, and that word is countenance. It's somewhat synonymous with the word favor. Webster's 1828 dictionary gives us this illustration. In scriptural language, the light of God's countenance is his smiles or favorable regards, his favor and grace. And to hide his face or countenance is to manifest his displeasure and withdraw his gracious aids. So the rebuke of his countenance indicates his anger and frowns. Now, to summarize this, we could say that to seek the face of God is to seek after his smiles or favorable regards. You know, we talked in an earlier lesson of the death that takes place when a person diligently seeks the face of God. I said then, and I say now, that it's not a death to be dreaded, but rather it's one to be longed for. And we find the reason when we use the definition, seeking the favor or desirable countenance of God. I think it's very well illustrated in Philippians 2:13. For it is God which worketh in you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure. See, God knows that with a carnal nature, we could never please him. We would always, every time, fall short. When our old carnal nature dies, though, we're given a new spiritual nature. And with his nature, we seek his will and his good pleasure. It's only through him that we can find him. I would like for you to look at one other thing, though, about God's countenance. In Exodus 19, verses 23 and 24, Moses said unto the Lord, the people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for thou charged us, saying, set bounds about the mount and sanctify it. And the Lord said unto him, away, get thee down, for thou shalt come up, thou and Aaron with thee. But let not the priest and the people break through to come up unto the Lord, lest he break forth upon them. That phrase, break through, means to tear down or to destroy. It denotes a familiarity that the people might have felt toward God that would allow just anyone to come into his holy presence. You remember later when Korah and Dathan and Abiram and On decided that they could do the work of Moses and Aaron, the earth swallowed them up along with their families. See, it's a dangerous thing to become too familiar with God. He is always to be held in the highest respect and reverence. That lack of awe, Solomon knew, would draw Israel away from God, and they would need to be able to turn back to God. God says, seek that place where you stand in awe of my presence. The last word in that definition of the face as the part that turns, presence, countenance, favor, fear of, heaviness, is heaviness. Now, this might seem like a strange word until we see the definition of the Hebrew word kabod, which is one of the Hebrew words translated as glory. Strong's dictionary says the proper definition for kabod is weight, W-E-I-G-H-T. We are instructed then to seek the weight or heaviness of God. So how can this be? Well, in seeking the face of God, we're seeking a revelation of His glory. So when a man with a sincere heart has reached this point in God's answer to Solomon's prayer, he will be at a place where all that he has read or heard of is just not enough. At this point, he's crying out, I want to see, I want to hear, I want to experience for myself. Now remember that Solomon asked specifically of God that if the people would pray toward the temple, that He would hear them. And remember also that the temple was a place where God had chosen to place His name. The children of Israel were not just looking back to a building or a location to pray. They were actually looking back to a picture in symbolism of who God was and all that He had done for His people. Had they understood or if they'd had an understanding looking forward, they would have been able to see Christ and His greater work. So let's put that together with the word heaviness and take a look at what God says to Moses when Moses asked Him to let him see His glory or His weight, W-E-I-G-H-T. So first, in Exodus 33 and 18, He said, I beseech Thee, show me Thy glory. And He said, the Lord, speaking now, said, I will make all my goodness pass before Thee, and I will proclaim the name of the Lord before Thee. So listen real close to how this event is recounted in Exodus 34, verses 5 through 7. It says, And the Lord descended in the cloud, and stood with him there, and proclaimed the name of the Lord. And I want you to listen real carefully now as God describes Himself. Verse 6, And the Lord passed by before him and proclaimed, the Lord God, merciful, gracious, long-suffering, and abundant in goodness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin, and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and upon the children's children unto the third and to the fourth generation. Now, this list may not be all-encompassing, but it is certainly a beautiful and powerful revelation of how God describes His heaviness or His weight. So without actually saying it, He is clearly pointing out, there is none like me. None like me in mercy and grace. I am beyond compare. There is none that will tolerate what I will mercifully tolerate. My goodness and truth are abundant. My mercy is for all. I am dedicated to providing a way for the forgiveness of sin, transgression, and iniquity. And my judgment is righteous and without question. So, church, I think it's time we seek the face of God. It's time we seek that place where we stand in awe of His presence. I think it's time that for us, the church, to desire more than anything to see His glory as He describes it. Church, it's time to pray and it's time to seek the face of God.